Working with the base size and understanding how it applies to the paragraph settings within your website can elevate your design and help you really create quicker websites and more efficient. Quicker, efficient, same thing. Let's talk about the base size, and after this you will have a base foundation as to what the base size is all about. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and a good wherever you are. My name is JP from Websites for Beginners, and this is Breakdance. Learn Breakdance for WordPress. So, where is this base size? What am I talking about? The base size is set in Global Settings. Access Global Settings, go to the top right corner where the Options toolbar is, and select the three dots and select Global Settings. We choose Typography, and here we see the option for base size. By default, it is empty. So the question is always, what did the developers at Breakdance decide to set the base size? Now, first of all, what is the base size? The base size is the font size of the paragraph text. Whenever you bring in a paragraph text element onto the page, this will be the size of the text by default. Let's look at the elements, and when I search for text elements, I'm going to get a number. I'll get the text, but the other famous one is also heading. Now, the heading is never the base size. The heading is usually always bigger than the base size. When we talk about the base size, we're talking about the text for the paragraph element. I'll select here text, and it drops it onto the page, and it says this is a basic text element. The word basic even appears here. And that size of this text is determined by this base size. So that's the first thing we have to know, is that base size relates to the paragraph. Wherever you're going to see the option to set text to paragraph, the default size will come here from this typography setting in the global controls, base size. What is the default value? The default value across the world, across websites, across page builders is 16 pixels. If you're curious like me, you would have wondered why 16. Go and Google it or ask your AI friend, because they will tell you it was just a setting way back when there were graphic constraints. This was the biggest they could do, basically, more or less. And over the years, 16 became the default size that is used, especially in browsers. That is a simple version of it, but that's kind of what happened. 16 became the setting for a base default paragraph size many eons ago, and today it is still used as 16. Let's test if this is true. If our theory that the base size by default is 16, it means that once I type 16 in here, these three elements, which are standard paragraph elements, should not change in size. I'll click and type 16, and I don't see any significant change. But to show it more easily, what I'll do now is I will cancel this change by clicking on the X next to base size, which delete any changes we've made, and you can see we don't see anything. Now we can type in a higher value, like 24. And let's scroll up again. Now you can see it has definitely increased. When I click on the clear, it goes back to 16. A natural flow from this is that often people like me use a value called EM, instead of pixels. I'll select the second one. We go to the text, typography, and then font size. I will select here EM, which is M. And now I will type in 1M, but nothing has changed. I will just change this, is set to 1M. The reason nothing has changed is that 1M equals the base size. If the base size is set to 16, 1M will be 16. And this makes it very easy if you just want to stick to the base size, and later on for this element, I want it to be 1.5, which is 16 plus 8, which is 24. Then instead of figuring out it's 24, I can go to my typography, font size, put it on M, and put it on 1.5, and now it will be 24 pixels. That is why many people prefer using M. It's a nice gradual and natural increase. You don't have to think too much about the pixels. You just use these values, 1, 1.25, 1.5, or 2, which is going to be 32, and so forth. And often after that, you don't even think anymore in terms of pixels. You just use the M value. I'm going to leave this one at 2, just for your reference. Let's just type in here 2M. So you have an idea what's going over here. And now the part that we wrap up with is the default is 16 pixels. Is that what you should be using? Many people are going to tell you yes. I'm going to tell you no. The standard or the new default or the new trend, let's rather go with trend, is to actually increase it, because it has been found that especially on mobile devices, 16 is often a little too small. You can imagine someone standing on a train, on the subway, and they have it here at waist height and they're reading it. If the text is a little bit larger, it's much more easier for them to read it. So instead of putting our base size on 16, we go for 18, 19, or 20. Well, 18 or 20. We don't like numbers like 19. But if you want to go for 18.5, you do so. What I'll do, my preference lately is to go for 18. So I go to base size in the settings on the right, and remember, this is under our global settings, typography, and then base size. And I'll type in 18. A number of things are going to happen. Let's first type in 18. The first thing that is going to happen is that this text element isn't 16 pixels anymore. It's 18. I'll duplicate it. I'll go to the top one, go to settings, typography, font size, and put it on 16. And you can see that this had changed to the new base size, which is now 18. The next thing you will notice is that the M value is similar to the 18 pixels, because 1M always equals the base size, which in this case is 18 pixels. And if you're interested, that means that this basic text element over here, 2M, is 36 pixels. You do need to look at how this looks on your desktop and your different devices, because maybe 18 is too big, but there are many fonts out there that you will find even 18 will be a little bit too small. To recap, the base size by default is 16 pixels in Breakdance. And that means 1M equals 16 pixels. You can change the base size, like I do, to something like 18 or even 20. That makes it a little bit bigger. And once you do so, 18 pixels equals 1M. But more importantly, I want you to consider changing the base size under the global settings typography to something a little bit larger, especially if you are creating a website that is very text rich. A lot of text, then you need to increase it a little bit more so it's more legible. That's it, a mouthful. Remember to subscribe, check out the other videos, and from me, JB, I'll see you next time. Have a good one.